Let me say a very good morning to you and Atabedu and then the viewers across the country. Something I'll just start by saying that your take is a very serious one that you had this morning and that we should take very seriously as a country. I hope we don't reduce it to political football because of the sacrosanct, how sacrosanct that office is. Let me also say a happy AU Day to our viewers and hope that one day Africa can be truly free. On this issue, I think that Bright and Atta have done very extensive work. And I wouldn't want to flog the issues anymore, but I think that we are all added them on the fact that clearly this SML to SML, from SMEL to SML deal is the classic example of what Justice Doche meant when he said create, loot, and share. One of the key things we must bear in mind is that all of this happened with the tacit approval of the then Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta. As usual, he's trying to run under the radar, and people are failing to realize the key cardinal role he played in this entire arrangement. Look, I'm being careful my choice of words. And I said to someone said to me that seeing my face on TV this morning looks like I was coming to release fire, and I said I'll do it with a smile. The Ghana Revenue Authority, in my humble opinion, is a crime scene and is the biggest single purveyor of corruption in our public service.
That's an unfair statement.
I'd explain.
That's too broad and sweeping.
I know. But something, if you know half of the things that I know, you would ask for the dissolution of the GRA and a reconstitution of the whole GRA. Look, the GRA is supposed to be the watchdog, ensuring that nobody evades taxes. In this SML deal, the GRA itself failed to withhold tax. You introduced me as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Several institutions appear before the Public Accounts Committee because the Auditor General had found out that they carried out transactions with institutions and failed to withhold tax. In fact, sometimes we impose penalties on them to pay with interest.
KPMG in this report said it has alerted GRA to make a demand for the amounts not paid, and they have made the amount to SML.
No, you see, that is the VAT component. But the withholding tax is not supposed to be withheld by SML.
That's correct.
It's by GRA in making the payments.
That's correct.
So when GRA was making payments to SML, they ought to know that they ought to have withheld taxes. But that points to the point Atta tried to make, that it appears as though the GRA itself is under duress in this deal, where officers of the GRA, because of the overwhelming influence of the patriarchs of SML, and their relationship with the GRA, people are under so much duress that they are failing to even carry out the basic, forget the procurement things that I was spoken about, those are even like very complex things. The basic thing, okay, you've created looting and you are sharing. The small withholding tax, that is the base, that also, the GRA itself. So when the policeman is involved in armed robbery, who arrested?
Because if any firm in this country fails to withhold tax, the GRA, after an audit, makes the firm pay up that amount it failed to withhold.
With a penalty.
With a penalty.
With a penalty.
And the penalty is up to 300%.
Yes.
That is their own law that they implement.
So you see the earlier statement I made, and this is just one example of how the GRA itself, in fact, this is one of its core things, ensuring the payment or withholding of taxes and all of that. Something. When you look at the entire, and Bright Simon spoke about it, this whole revenue assurance business. In principle, let me state it emphatically here, I don't think that revenue assurance is a bad thing. But revenue assurance has become the biggest looting avenue in the state. And look, I will be fair here and honest here. It is not peculiar to only this government.
Thank you.
It's something that private enterprise has seen as a lacuna, uses the whole concept of revenue assurance to corrupt public officials, to loot the state in connivance with them. We all heard how members of this government, in fact, members of parliament today, in fact, one of them is a sector minister, Esther Usu. She sat on this your platform and sang with Suba in a song. You remember? How Suba was wrong. What was Suba? It was signed under the NDC. Suba was a revenue assurance in the telecom sector. She said it was wrong, it was criminal. She sang with it and campaigned with it. She came into office, and what did she do? She signed Kelny GVG and paid more than Suba was being paid. Whilst the communications ministry has a legitimate issue with determining what is really going on with the telecom sectors, with the telecom operators, because take it from me, the MNOs are stealing from the state. MTN, Telecel, Airtel, Tigo, they're not declaring their true revenues. We all know it. So we need to find a way to determine what really is due the state. That's one thing.
So,
but the GRA,
how to do that is revenue assurance.
That's a statement you've made.
Yes, and they know. Ask people in the telecom sector.
That's unfair.
No, Ata, you see, you cannot approbate and reprobate because you are in the telecom sector. You know that the amounts that are declared to the state, if we were to do proper real-time monitoring, we don't have visibility. Today, the state of Ghana does not have true visibility on transactions that are going on all the telecom platforms. Tell me I'm lying. Yes or no? Am I lying or telling the truth?
I don't want to go into the details of it, but I can assure you that I agree with you on one breath that whole business of revenue assurance is unnecessary. So it shouldn't have been either way on both sides.
He didn't say it's unnecessary. He says it's a conduit for corruption. It is like the easiest way to steal from the state. The state says, I don't know exactly how to measure this thing. Then it goes to bring in private enterprise. Measure it for me. And then through that process, money is shared.
Let's not digress. I'm sure we can.
But you see, the point I was making, and the point I was trying to make with GRA, because I'm establishing the modus operandi at the GRA. Whether it is Suba under the NDC or Kelny GVG under the MPP, bottom line is these two arrangements were supposed to provide the GRA with some information from CDRs to be able to determine tax liability, even though these contracts were signed under the NCA, which is the agency under the Ministry of Communications. Both under the NDC and under the current MPP administration, the GRA has gone to sign parallel revenue assurance contracts with a company whose registration has been dissolved in the UK before they even signed the contract with them, called Safari Tech. And you see, if you follow all the things that have been happening with SML and what is on their website and what is in reality, and when you go into Safari Tech's office is a tailoring shop. When you look at the address on their thing, the GPS, and even the fiscal address, when you go, it's a tailoring shop in Bachona.
Oh.
I'm telling you, look, I have here, I can show you.
So we are unable to independently confirm and verify. You know,
I've mentioned the name of the company.
Claims. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm saying that
that's why
go
it's
on
important.
their website. Look, and I've said this publicly before.
We are unable to verify this.
It's not a problem.
Independently for now.
This is their UK incorporation.
And I will urge you to keep your focus on the subject of SML.
Yes.
Now.
No, I'm building a case on why SML has happened, because it fits into a trend. And so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you bring in an entity that is not here to answer, it is unfair.
Oh, this matter,
so
I've
proceed.
based it with the GRA at public accounts and they've admitted. So it's a matter of public records. You understand me? But I'm showing you and establishing for you that the GRA itself has seen that agencies of state are doing this revenue assurance business. And so it's an easy way. Let's ask ourselves, revenue is what? It is the core mandate of the GRA. Is that not the core mandate of the GRA? Revenue collection. And so if the GRA says that the revenue collection, which is their core mandate, they are unable to verify and assure us that the revenue they are collecting is proper, and they now need a private sector player to come and give them assurance of their core mandates, then why is the GRA there? You see, at time coming, this SML deal, can the GRA show us a needs assessment that was done that showed the need for this particular
The report says there was no needs assessment. In fact, the job that the president gave to KPMG,
yes,
the very first of the terms of reference was needs assessment.
Yes.
And they confirmed conclusively that there was not any such.
Why? Why is there no... Why, and even if we had done a needs assessment, because if you read the KPMG report, it clearly ends up by telling you that whatever SML was doing was unnecessary. It was duplication. So even if you did a needs assessment, the needs assessment would have highlighted the fact that there was no need for it.
Mechanisms already
Why?
for doing that.
Because the NPA had put in place a mechanism. So you realize what I'm doing? What I'm doing for you is I'm establishing, and that's why I went into the telecom sector, to establish how when an agency in a sector puts in place its own mechanisms, the GRA then duplicates it and pays people for no work done. The same way they've done with revenue assurance in the telecom sector, the NPA is responsible for this.
And pays people who are suspected to be supplanted. So they go set up a company and somebody is interested in it. Yes. Then they give you the contract. They are paying to the company, but in actual fact, they are paying themselves.
Exactly. Who are the beneficial owners?
Let me correct something Sam George made, a point Sam George made. In principle, we call it make or buy decision making in procurement. Anything that has to be done can either be done by yourself or do it through someone. It is when you decide to do it through someone that you are activating your procurement process to find a third party to do it for you. So they have responsibilities per their act.
But sadly, our governments cannot do things by themselves. If they have to buy cars, they need a third party to go and buy them. If they have to buy ambulances, they know where to find them in the shop. They will still get a third party to go and buy them. What's going on in this country?
Now, this thing is directly connected to the pricing model as well, or the commercial model of the whole arrangement. So let me break it down to the layman's, simple man understanding.
But be brief, because it is some judge's presentation you are interrupting.
I want to serve 10 people kinky. If I decide to do it myself, I'm going down the value chain to go and buy the maize. Come and soak it, mill it, make the kinky, add the fish, make the pepper. How much time will I spend? How much will it cost me? If it will cost me 10 cedis, 100 cedis to do it, it means if I give it to someone else, it will cost the person the same 100 cedis if we went to the same market. The only reason why I'll go to the someone else is because I'm only making kinky for 10 people, but that person makes kinky for 1,000 people.
When your job is kinky making, you don't give the job to somebody else. That's what some judge is saying.
The point I'm making here.
So before they even determine the pricing model that has ensured they have paid so much, they would have done the supply chain cost modeling, which helps you to build all the costs from base up. And it will tell you that I have to spend X to do it. Now, one, I don't have the resources to do it, or the people to do it. Two, I don't have the money to do it. I don't have this, so I'm giving it to a third party. So before you engage the person, and that is when you prepare to go into negotiation, you know that this is what it will cost me to do it. So plus or minus, if you want a profit of, let's say, 100%, the ceiling should be this. So you are going into negotiation. You always have your entry point and your exit point. And that defines the frame within which you...
I hear you loud and clear, but you see the point I'm making here, that's with your kinky analysis. That's exactly the point something interjected with that. If your business is kinky making, you need to explain to us why you are not making the kinky and now subletting to another kinky maker to do it. And that's why I started by saying, in principle, I'm not against revenue assurance.
Yeah.
When a regulator like the NCA, whose job it is to ensure the quality of service decides that they need a third party to do revenue assurance, I can understand. Because they are not KK makers. But when an entity that is a revenue collection agency
has to build internal competence.
You have to build internal competencies because that's what your job is. Because the amount of money that has been paid to SML, just SML, are you telling me that if we use that money to build the capacity of people in GRA, we couldn't have done this job?
And in this case, let's not forget that people within regulators of the industry, including in the state, have said that this is a duplication.
Yes.
Yes.
And you see, the point must be made that even in setting up this entity, it is someone from GRA who then goes to run the thing. So basically, it's like GRA hiving off itself, giving itself a private face, and saying to it, do their job, and now what I would have earned a salary from the taxpayer for, only a salary, let me earn a commercial interest in it. And so that's why I'm saying that, look, we need to come to that place where we admit and accept that, look, there is a need for deep reforms at the GRA. The GRA must understand what it is doing.
There's been some radical changes there in the last few months. Yeah.
Well, those changes, are they superficial? Are they consequential? Time will tell. But you see something, we need to ask ourselves very serious questions. Because as we speak, the GRA is engaged in all kinds of procurement. There's one, if I start talking about it now, you say it's not this matter. But domestic tax revenue, I'm sure you know about it. With Tata, IPMC and all of that. Look, interesting things are going on in the GRA, which should worry any Ghanaian, because the GRA sets its own question, sets its marking scheme, and answers it. Oh, we set this target for ourselves. Look, something. The corruption. And when I started, I said that the GRA was arguably the most corrupt institution. You know why I say this? I can confidently say that my district, my constituency, is the fastest growing industrial district in Ghana. Because almost all the industries are moving into Ningo and Pram Pram because of proximity to the Tema and the fact that Tema is full. And so they're setting up. And the constant complaint I get from industries, which are largely foreign owned by foreigners, but Ghanaian entities, is that, Sam, what is wrong with your country's people? GRA officials are basically hounding these businesses with atrocious tax demands, and then after they do that, the same officials come to them and say, well, either you change your headquarters from Ghana to Togo, and we can waive some of the taxes, or we cut a deal with you. And foreigners are asking me, what is wrong with your own country people? Look, let us call a spade a spade. This SML thing is just the tip of the iceberg. And that's why I'm saying that we should not sound ourselves hoarse. We must go beyond the SML, the face, what's his name? Soti. Soti is the face that has been put to it. Who are the patrons? Who are the facilitators? The beneficial owners of what Soti is doing. Something, per our laws, per the ruling in the Isofoton case, and correct me if I'm wrong, if a contract is null and void, payments made are retrievable. Yeah. Am I right?
So the agencies concerned are not even supposed to make payments?
Absolutely. So if we have paid 1.4 billion to a company that was set up on Valentine's Day, the first Valentine's Day after Nanado became president, February 14, 2017. They set it up as a love gift to themselves. And then within 3 months of setting up that illicit love child, they tried to get the PPA 3 times to approve sole sourcing. The same sole sourcing we were told by President Akufo-Addo was so wrong under President Mahama. Was the worst thing to ever happen. And even in this time, even with the incompetence, in quotes, or the lack, no, not incompetence, the lack of competence, because incompetence and lack of competence are different. Even with the apparent lack of competence at the board level of the PPA, they were able to state and say, hey, this thing, it doesn't meet the base requirement. How they are able to squeeze it through. And don't forget, the GRA, like I keep saying, works at the behest and reports to the Minister of Finance.
Okay.
So we must ask questions of Ken Ofori-Atta. We must ask questions of Reverend Amishadai, under whose watch this thing happened. Because don't forget, Soti was an advisor to him. And then he goes to set up this company, and Amit Shaddai is paying
and
his own former advisor.
Okay.
You know, some say this.
Let me go on the. Let me go on the.
Let me straight to my face. I said I'll say everything. I'll say with a smile.
Let me go to